First contact and desperate choices. The research vessel, Horizon's Edge, drifted through the silent expanse of the Kepler 442 system, its sensors sweeping across the asteroid belt that surrounded the distant star. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge, watching the data stream across multiple screens. This was supposed to be a routine scientific mission, cataloging mineral compositions and stellar phenomena. Nothing had prepared her crew for what they were about to discover. Dr. Marcus Chen looked up from his workstation, his dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of his monitors. "Captain, I'm picking up something unusual. It's not natural stellar radiation or magnetic interference." He paused, fingers dancing across his console. "It's a signal, but unlike anything in our databases." Elena moved closer, studying the wavelength patterns that pulsed across the screen. The signal was weak, distorted by cosmic interference, but there was something deliberate about its rhythm. Could it be from another human expedition? "Negative," Marcus replied, shaking his head. "The frequency modulation is completely foreign. If I didn't know better, I'd say it was a distress call, but the mathematical structure suggests non-human origin." Lieutenant Jake Morrison, the ship's security officer and backup pilot, looked up from his station near the rear of the bridge. His military background had taught him to be cautious about the unknown. "Captain, we should proceed carefully. First contact protocols exist for a reason." Elena nodded but felt a pull in her chest. If this was truly a distress signal, could they simply ignore it? "Marcus, can you triangulate the source?" "Already working on it." Chen's fingers flew over his keyboard. "The signal is coming from coordinates 247.3 by 115.7, approximately 2 million kilometers from our current position. It appears to be originating from what looks like debris or possibly a damaged vessel." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Elena felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders. They were explorers, scientists, not a military vessel equipped for dangerous encounters. But they were also human beings, and the possibility that someone was in distress tugged at her conscience. "Set course for the signal's origin," she decided. "But bring us in slowly. Jake, I want you monitoring all defensive systems." The Horizon's Edge changed course, its ion drives pushing them toward the unknown. As they drew closer, their sensors began painting a clearer picture. What they found made everyone on the bridge gasp in amazement. Floating in the void were the remains of several spacecraft, their design unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. The vessels were elegant, with flowing curves that seemed almost organic. But they were clearly damaged, with hull breaches and dark sections where systems had failed. "My God," Marcus whispered. "They're beautiful, even in ruin." Elena studied the largest of the vessels, which appeared to be some kind of transport ship. "Life signs?" "Scanning now," Jake reported. "I'm detecting faint energy signatures. Could be emergency power, could be life support. There are definitely survivors aboard the largest vessel." Elena made her decision. "Prepare the shuttle. Marcus, you're with me. We're going aboard." "Captain, that might not be wise," Jake protested. "We don't know anything about these beings. They could be hostile. They could also be dying," Elena replied firmly. "Prepare a medical kit and universal translator. If they're intelligent enough to build spacecraft, maybe we can find a way to communicate." 30 minutes later, Elena and Marcus approached the alien vessel in their small shuttle. The craft was even more impressive up close, its hull made of some kind of metallic material that seemed to shift color in the starlight. They found an obvious airlock, and surprisingly, it responded to their docking procedures. The interior of the ship was dimly lit by emergency lighting. The architecture was clearly designed for beings different from humans. The corridors were wider, with gentle curves instead of right angles. The air was breathable but carried strange scents, like ozone mixed with something floral. They found the survivors in what appeared to be a medical bay. 3 beings lay on biobeds, connected to alien life support equipment. They were humanoid but taller than humans, with elongated limbs and large, multifaceted eyes. Their skin had a faint iridescent quality, and they appeared to be unconscious. One of the beings stirred as they approached. Its large eyes opened, focusing on the two humans. Elena could see intelligence there and something else, fear mixed with desperate hope. Marcus activated the Universal Translator, a device that used advanced AI to analyze language patterns and attempt communication. It took several minutes of back-and-forth gestures and sounds before they achieved a breakthrough. "Help," the alien finally managed in heavily accented but understandable English. The translator had done its work. "We flee. Death comes." Elena knelt beside the being's bed. "Who are you? What happened to your ships?" The alien, who identified herself as Zara 7 of the Cathari people, slowly told their story. Her species had been peaceful traders and explorers traveling between star systems in small convoys. But something had changed in their region of the galaxy. A militant species called the Vorton had begun a campaign of systematic extermination against anyone they deemed inferior. "They hunt us," Zara 7 explained, her voice growing stronger as the translator adapted. "Destroy our worlds, our ships, our children. We run, but they follow. Always they follow." Marcus checked the other survivors while Elena listened to the horrifying tale. The Vorthon were technologically superior to most species in this region, using their advanced weapons to enforce their twisted ideology of genetic supremacy. The Cathari were simply the latest target in their expansion. "How many of you survived?" Elena asked gently. "Only us 3 from 7 ships," Zara 7 replied, her alien features somehow conveying profound sadness. 200 of my people gone. We sent distress calls to every known species, but none answer. None dare face the Vorthon." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "Are they still pursuing you?" Before Zara 7 could answer, Jake's voice crackled through their comm units. "Captain, you need to get back here now. I'm detecting multiple ships approaching fast. Their energy signatures don't match the refugee vessels." Elena's blood ran cold. "The Vorthon?" "We must go," Zara 7 said urgently, trying to sit up despite her injuries. "If they find you with us, they will kill you too. The Vorthon show no mercy to those who help their prey." Elena looked at Marcus, seeing her own thoughts reflected in his expression. They could leave, save themselves and their ship. It would be the safe choice, the logical choice. But it would also mean abandoning 3 wounded beings to certain death. "Can your ship move?" Elena asked. Zara 7 shook her head weakly. "Engines dead, life support failing. We have perhaps hours remaining." Elena made the decision that would change everything. "Then you're coming with us. Marcus, help me get them to the shuttle." "Captain," Marcus said quietly, "if we take them aboard, we become targets too. Are you prepared for that?" Elena looked at the 3 aliens, thinking of her own crew back on the horizon's edge. She thought of Jake's family back on Earth, of Marcus's research that could benefit all humanity. Then she looked at Zara 7's eyes, seeing the same spark of intelligence and hope that she recognized in any sentient being facing extinction. "Yes," she said firmly. "I am." They worked quickly to transfer the survivors to their shuttle. The Cathari were lighter than humans despite their height, and their medical equipment was surprisingly portable. As they prepared to depart, Elena took one last look at the refugee ships, knowing they were leaving behind the graves of 200 souls. Back aboard the horizon's edge, Elena called all hands to the bridge. Her crew of 12 was small but experienced, each person chosen for their expertise and judgment. They deserved to know what they were facing. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "we have 3 alien survivors aboard our ship. They are refugees from a species called the Cathari, fleeing extermination by a militant race known as the Vorthon. The Vorthon ships are approaching our position." The bridge erupted in concerned voices. Elena raised her hand for silence. "I know this isn't what we signed up for," she continued. "We're scientists and explorers, not warriors. But these beings asked for our help and I couldn't turn away. Now we need to decide what to do next." Chief Engineer Lisa Park spoke up from her station. "Captain, what are our options?" Jake pulled up tactical displays. 3 Vorthon vessels approaching ETA 45 minutes. They're significantly larger than us and appear to be heavily armed. In a straight fight, we wouldn't stand a chance. Sarah Kim, the ship's medical officer, had been examining the Cathari survivors. The aliens are in stable condition but weak. They couldn't survive another transfer to escape pods. Elena looked at each member of her crew, seeing determination mixed with fear in their faces. These weren't soldiers, but they were human beings faced with a moral choice. "I won't order anyone to risk their lives," Elena said. "If we run now, we might escape. The Vorthon might not pursue us if we abandon the refugees." "And if we stay?" asked Navigator Tom Walsh. "Then we fight with whatever we have, and probably die trying to protect 3 alien survivors." The bridge fell silent for a long moment. Elena waited, knowing this decision had to come from each of them individually. Jake was the first to speak. "My grandfather fought in the Pacific Theater during World War II. He used to tell me stories about choosing between safety and doing what's right. He said the hardest choices define who you really are." He looked directly at Elena. "I'm with you, Captain." One by one, each crew member voiced their agreement. These scientists and explorers had found something worth fighting for, even if it cost them everything. Elena activated the long-range communications. "Array, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the research vessel Horizon's Edge, broadcasting on all human military frequencies. We have encountered hostile alien forces and are requesting immediate assistance. Our coordinates are..." She provided their location and situation details. As they waited for a response, Elena couldn't help but wonder if help would come in time, or if anyone would even receive their message. The nearest human military installation was weeks away at best. Jake's sensors chimed urgently. "Captain, the Vorthon ships have dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They're entering weapons range." Elena looked at the main screen, where 3 massive alien warships now dominated the view. They were dark, angular vessels that radiated menace. Each one was 5 times the size of the Horizon's Edge. A communication channel opened, filled with harsh guttural sounds that their translator struggled to process. Finally, a mechanical voice emerged. "Human vessel, you harbor enemies of the Vorthon Empire. Surrender them immediately or be destroyed." Elena activated the communication array, her voice steady despite the fear in her chest. "This is Captain Vasquez. These beings have asked for our protection and we will not abandon them." A sound that might have been laughter came through the channel. "Foolish mammals. You know nothing of galactic realities. The weak exist only to serve the strong. Surrender the Cathari, and we may allow you to live as slaves." "Counteroffer," Elena replied. "Leave this system immediately, and we won't have to demonstrate why humanity earned its place among the stars." The response was immediate. 3 powerful energy beams lanced out from the Vorthon ships, striking the space around the Horizon's Edge. Warning shots, but the message was clear. Elena looked at Jake. "Evasive maneuvers. Get us into the asteroid field." As their small ship dove toward the protection of the floating rocks, Elena activated their emergency beacon on all frequencies, including the message they'd sent to human military forces. If they were going to make a stand, she wanted the universe to know why. Behind them, the Vorthon ships gave pursuit, their weapons charging for the killing blow. Elena gripped her command chair and thought of the 3 wounded aliens in their medical bay, trusting humans they'd just met with their lives. The real test of humanity was about to begin. When humanity answers the call, the Horizon's Edge darted between massive asteroids, using the rocky debris as cover, while Jake pushed their ship's engines beyond safe limits. Behind them, the 3 Vorthon warships moved with predatory grace, their energy weapons carving through space where Elena's ship had been moments before. "Hull temperature rising," reported Chief Engineer Lisa Park from her console. "If we keep this up much longer, we'll cook ourselves." Elena watched the tactical display as the Vorthon ships spread out, trying to cut off their escape routes. The aliens were methodical, professional killers who had clearly done this many times before, but Elena had spent years studying stellar phenomena and asteroid fields. She knew these rocks better than any computer. Jake, take us through the dense cluster at bearing 127, she ordered, threading the needle between those two large asteroids. Captain, that gap is barely wider than our ship, Jake protested even as he adjusted their heading. Trust me, Elena replied, studying the gravitational readings. Those asteroids are tidally locked. There's a stable passage, but only if we time it perfectly. The horizon's edge dove into the narrow channel between two city-sized rocks. The Vorthon ships hesitated, their larger bulk making such maneuvers dangerous. It bought them precious minutes. In the medical bay, Dr. Sarah Kim worked alongside Zara 7, who had insisted on helping despite her injuries. The Cathari's knowledge of Vorthon tactics was proving invaluable. They will not follow into the dense field, Zara 7 explained through the translator. But they will wait. Vorthon are patient hunters. They know we cannot hide forever. Sarah nodded, checking the aliens' vital signs. How do they usually track their prey? Energy signatures, heat traces, communication signals, Zara 7 replied. But they also use something else. Fear. They make their victims desperate, force them to make mistakes. On the bridge, Elena was thinking the same thing. They had won a temporary reprieve, but the Vorthon ships controlled the exit points from the asteroid field. Their food and water were limited, and eventually they would have to emerge. Any response to our distress signal? She asked Tom Walsh. The navigator shook his head grimly. Nothing on military frequencies. We're too far from any major human installations. Elena was about to respond when Jake's console erupted in urgent beeping. Captain, I'm detecting a massive energy signature dropping out of hyperspace. It's big. The main screen shifted to show a new arrival, and Elena felt her heart leap with hope. Emerging from the twisted distortion of faster-than-light travel was a human warship, its angular hull bristling with weapons and sensor arrays. The vessel was 3 times the size of the Vorthon ships, its armor plating scarred from previous battles. This is Commander Rex Hawthorne of the UES Iron Resolve, came a crisp voice over the communication channel. Horizon's Edge, we received your distress call. What's your status? Elena nearly wept with relief. Commander, we have 3 alien refugees aboard. The Vorthon ships have us trapped in the asteroid field. They are demanding we surrender the survivors. There was a brief pause before Hawthorne replied. Understood, Captain. We're familiar with Vorthon tactics. They've been testing our border colonies for months. Time we sent them a message. The Iron Resolve moved into the asteroid field with surprising grace for such a large vessel. Elena watched in fascination as the warship's sensors painted detailed maps of the rocky terrain, finding paths that seemed impossible. Commander Hawthorne's voice came through again, this time on a private channel. Captain Vasquez, I want you to know that what you did took real courage. A lot of people would have looked the other way. How could we? Elena replied simply. They needed help. That's what makes us human, Hawthorne said with obvious pride. Now let's show these Vorthon why that matters. The Iron Resolve emerged from the asteroid field like an avenging angel, its weapons already charging. The Vorthon ships immediately turned to face this new threat, their communications filled with harsh, chittering sounds. Elena watched from their hiding place as the first exchange of fire lit up the void. The Vorthon weapons were impressively powerful, but the human warship's defenses held. More importantly, the Iron Resolve's return fire was devastating, precisely targeted to disable rather than destroy. Commander, Elena called out, they have superior numbers. Maybe, Hawthorne replied, his voice calm despite the battle raging around his ship. But we've got something they don't understand. Elena was about to ask what he meant when she saw it. 2 more human ships dropped out of hyperspace, flanking the Vorthon formation. But these weren't warships. They were converted cargo haulers and mining vessels, their civilian hulls reinforced with armor plating. This is Captain Maria Santos of the merchant vessel Lucky Strike, came a new voice. Commander, we received your general alert. Figured you might need some help. Elena stared in amazement as more ships arrived. A scientific research vessel, like her own, its sensors repurposed into jamming equipment. a passenger liner with improvised weapon mounts, a mining ship whose drilling lasers had been recalibrated for combat. "Who are all these people?" she asked. Hawthorne's chuckle came through the comm. "Word travels fast in human space, Captain. When folks heard that someone was standing up to alien bullies, well, volunteers started showing up. The Vorthan commanders—" Voice cut through the chatter, transmitted on all frequencies. "What is this? These are not military vessels," Commander Hawthorne responded directly. "No, they're something better. They're humans who give a damn." The battle that followed was unlike anything Elena had ever witnessed. The human fleet fought with a combination of military precision and civilian ingenuity that seemed to confuse the Vorthan. The merchant ship Lucky Strike used its cargo containers as improvised missiles. The research vessel's scientific sensors provided targeting data that made human weapons unnaturally accurate. The mining ship's industrial equipment proved surprisingly effective at cutting through alien armor, but it was the coordination that truly amazed Elena. These ships had never worked together before. Their crews came from different backgrounds and training. Yet they moved like a single organism, covering each other's weaknesses and amplifying their strengths. Zara 7 had made her way to the bridge, supported by Dr. Kim. The alien's large eyes were wide with disbelief as she watched the battle. "This is not possible," she whispered. "The Vorthan have superior technology, superior numbers. How do your people fight so effectively?" Elena looked at her crew, seeing the same pride she felt reflected in their faces. "Because we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for what's right." The tide of battle turned when Jake made a crucial observation. "Captain, look at their formation. The Vorthan ships are protecting their flagship, the one in the center. I think their commander is aboard." Elena immediately relayed this information to Commander Hawthorne, who passed it to the fleet. Within minutes, the human ships had shifted their tactics, focusing their fire on the flagship while using the asteroid field to break up the Vorthan formation. The Vorthan commander's arrogance finally worked against him. Rather than retreating when the battle turned, he ordered his ships forward in a desperate attempt to destroy the human fleet. But the humans had been expecting this, using the alien aggression to draw them into carefully prepared traps. When the smoke cleared, 2 Vorthan ships were disabled and drifting, their crews contained in escape pods. The flagship had suffered critical damage and was attempting to retreat, its weapons offline. Commander Hawthorne's voice came through the comm, addressing the fleeing Vorthan ship. "Tell your empire that this is what happens when you threaten innocent beings. Humanity has taken notice of your activities, and we don't approve." The damaged Vorthan ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind its disabled companions and a field full of debris. Elena felt a mixture of relief and amazement as the human fleet regrouped. Over the next few hours, the survivors were rescued and the situation secured. The Iron Resolve took the Vorthan prisoners aboard, treating them according to human standards of prisoner welfare, something that seemed to genuinely surprise the alien captives. Elena met with Commander Hawthorne aboard his ship, bringing Zara 7 and the other Cathari survivors. The warship's conference room was filled with representatives from all the vessels that had responded to the call for help. "The question now," Hawthorne said, "is what do we do next? This was clearly a scouting force. The main Vorthan fleet will eventually come looking." Zara 7 spoke up, her voice stronger now after receiving proper medical treatment. "There are other refugee fleets scattered throughout this region. My people, but also others. The Talani, the Corvin, the peaceful species, fleeing Vorthan expansion." Captain Santos from the Lucky Strike leaned forward. "How many are we talking about?" "Thousands of ships, maybe hundreds of thousands of survivors," Zara 7 replied. "All running, all hiding, all waiting to die, because no one will stand against the Vorthan." Elena felt a familiar stirring in her chest, the same feeling that had led her to rescue the Cathari survivors. What if someone did stand against them? Commander Hawthorne raised an eyebrow. "Captain, the Vorthan Empire controls dozens of star systems. Their military is vast and technologically advanced. So was the force we just defeated," Elena pointed out. "And look how that turned out." Dr. Marcus Chen, who had been quietly analyzing data from the battle, spoke up. The Vorthon technology is advanced, but it's standardized. They rely on overwhelming force and intimidation. Our improvised tactics completely disrupted their battle plans. Plus, added Jake with a grin, they clearly don't understand human psychology. The more they threaten innocent people, the more humans are going to show up to fight them. Elena looked around the room at the faces of people who had risked everything for strangers they'd never met. Scientists, merchants, miners, soldiers, all united by a simple belief that some things were worth fighting for. "Commander," she said to Hawthorne, "what would it take to organize a proper resistance? Something that could give these refugees hope?" Hawthorne was quiet for a long moment, clearly thinking through the implications. "It would mean war," he said finally. "Real war, against an empire that's been conquering systems for decades." "Good," Elena replied firmly. "Then they'll finally face an enemy that fights back." 3 months later, the refugee camps in the Kepler 442 system had become the foundation for something unprecedented in galactic history. Human engineers worked alongside Cathari scientists, Talani artists shared their culture with human children, and Corvan philosophers debated ethics with human diplomats. Elena stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed station, watching, as another convoy of refugee ships arrived. Each group brought stories of Vorthon cruelty, but also knowledge, skills, and hope for a better future. Commander Hawthorne joined her at the viewport. "The Admiralty has approved the formation of the Freedom Fleet," he reported. "Volunteers from every human colony, plus our new alien allies. The Vorthon won't know what hit them." Elena smiled, thinking of how a simple research mission had led to this moment. "Do you think we can really do it, stop an entire empire?" Hawthorne looked out at the bustling activity around the station, humans and aliens working together, building something new. "Captain, 3 months ago, a civilian research crew took on 3 Vorthon warships to protect strangers they'd just met. If that's not enough to change the galaxy, I don't know what is." As if summoned by their conversation, Zara 7 approached, her injuries now fully healed. The Cathari had become the unofficial ambassador between the human fleet and the various refugee species. "Captain Vasquez," she said, her English now fluent thanks to extended use of the translators, "I wanted to thank you again for what you did. You could have saved yourselves, but you chose to save us instead." Elena shook her head. "We didn't save you, Zara 7. We just gave you a chance to save yourselves. That's what humans do. We level the playing field." Outside the viewport, the first ships of the Freedom Fleet were taking formation. Human vessels flew alongside alien craft, their crews united by a common purpose. The Vorthon Empire had spent decades spreading fear throughout the galaxy, but now they faced something they had never encountered before. They faced hope, backed by human determination and the collective will of every species that refused to bow to tyranny. The message was clear. The galaxy had new protectors, and they weren't backing down. Elena watched a human patrol ship escort a group of Talani refugees to safety, and she knew that whatever came next, they had already won the most important victory. They had proven that different species could work together, that the strong had a duty to protect the weak, and that sometimes the right choice was also the hardest choice. The beacon of hope was lit, and its light was spreading across the stars.